Shukran. Najua hii ni kwa poultry farm hapa. Now people need to know like vitu zenye wanafaa kufanya.
For a first-time poultry farmer, venturing in can be a bit tricky. Because of details like disease, vaccination, and housing, poultry farming requires a high level of expertise, understanding, and commitment. Today on the Farm Guide, we take you through lessons to consider to be a successful poultry farmer.
For poultry farmer, you require to have a few things in mind as you intend to get into that business. And of course, even for a continuing farmer, they can also run a few tips from this. So for the one who is green and getting into this space, the poultry farming space, then they need to consider like where they are going to locate their business. Yes, that is matters housing. Secondly, they need to know where they are going to source some quality chicks, because once you get it right on quality chicks, then you know you're going right ahead. And then thirdly, they need to know where they are going to be selling their produce or selling the product, be it eggs, be it the broilers, or be it the kienyeji chicken, or be it even whatever else they could be selling from the farm. So they need to have a market. Ask, shop around, look at people, what is around them, the institutions that there are, the hospitals, yeah, and of course their networks, and see how much they can be able to put into that. And lastly, things like a good person to take care of your farm. That could be maybe a farm manager or a farm hand, just to help you run the farm and make sure that routine practices on a daily basis they are running without any error, and making sure that things like diseases, if they spot them, they are able even to report on time, so that then they can be acted on time, as well as a good biosecurity, because that is very important, just to keep off diseases from the farm, and making sure that in case then a disease strikes your farm, you're able to respond very fast, so that you kick out that particular disease as fast as you can. And basically things like record keeping to help you know how you're doing, the numbers you're having, the feed, and things like that. That becomes very important. And lastly, but these should have come earlier, is the issue of feeding, because then feeding takes a good chunk of the investment money, and this money you need to run this particular business. 70% of that goes into feeds. That is 70% of the production costs, and therefore either you sourcing from a quality supplier, or you just getting your raw materials and constituting for your own feed. Then you have to get like quality raw materials, so that then you can feed your chicken on a good meal. Yes, again, water should be available throughout, just to make sure that your chicken are healthy and running on without any challenge in the farm. When it comes to your breeding stock, I mean, or your poultry stock, you would always look out for a good supplier or a credible supplier. There are so many people coming outside here saying, I supply day-old chicks, we do this kind of business, they just bought a hatching machine and they are doing this business. But you find that the practices that they follow right from the egg, they are not good, because at some point then you find that your chicken were infected through the egg. And therefore, by the time they are about a few weeks, then you find that your chicken are dying and this kind of thing. So, but there are reputable breeders all over the country who have where people can source some good quality chicks. And once then you bring them from there. In fact, even some of them vaccinate your chicken when they are day-old, some part of vaccine, the first one. So you find that they have already vaccinated for you when they are giving you. Then now once you reach your farm, you just continue with the rest of the vaccination protocol. And the beauty is that for these ones that the reputable breeders, you are looking for quality, the quality of chicks that you're buying from that, and they should also be free of diseases, and they should be healthy. Yeah. The beauty with kienyeji is that you can raise them partly on commercial feed, just a small portion, but majorly on the organic feed as we've seen here in this particular farm, where they are feeding them on greens, on cabbages, on kales, on carrots, and just whatever is from maybe kitchen waste, for example. But then that should be some good quality to make sure that you are avoiding mold, chances of mold, just to make sure that you are not bringing issues within the gastrointestinal system to your chicken. Yeah. So, but then if we were to compare the kienyeji with the layers and the broilers and the rest, kienyeji is somehow easy to start and keep, because one, they are disease resistant, in that the majority of the diseases that affect them, they are somehow hardy, meaning if two farms, A and B, are kienyeji and layers or broilers, then kienyeji would somehow survive, and the others maybe they would be hardly hit. Yeah. So on disease resistance, that's a plus for them. We also look at how much feed you got to input in the whole system. So as for the broilers and the layers, you purely go for commercial. The kienyeji will forgive you, because then you can use some organic feed, and then that is the cabbages, the kales, and things like that, and then just supplement with a small portion of the commercial feed. And finally, on meat now, kienyeji, then you're able to, at around 6 months, 7 months, you're able to get 2 kg, 3 kg chicken, which could fetch you between 1,000 and 1,500. But for the broilers, which you sell at around 6 weeks, you get around between 450 to 650. Thereby, if you are to do a cost-benefit analysis, you would always choose kienyeji as compared to the broilers or the layers. Housing becomes a fundamental issue when you're talking about chicken, because imagine these one have so many predators. There are dogs, there are cats, there are people who would want to steal from your neighborhood, you know. So then in this case, you need a secure location to be able to put up this. And then now when it comes to the real structure, you need to make sure that the different birds have different structures. Yeah. For the young chickens that you're bringing in, say a day old, you make sure that you have a brooder ready. Yeah, just to make sure, because they cannot be able to thermoregulate or to control their temperature, then you intend to have a nice room that you can use cardboards to just cross them in. Maybe you can cut a cardboard into two and then join into a circle, and then you can put in your infrared or a jiko or something, just to make sure that then you are able to heat that. Other people are using biogas just to provide a source of heat, and then they are connecting pipes, and then they can be able to heat the presses. The disadvantage of using a jiko is that the carbon monoxide produced from those can really kill your chicken very fast. Yeah, but the temperature in the brooder really should be from around 35 degrees. You scale down 2 degrees every week until maybe 4 weeks. From that point, they don't need to be provided warmth, and then from there they are able just to move on to the next phase. So the houses become very critical, and what you want to consider is that the ventilation is right. Just making sure you can raise about 3 feet or 4, and then from there you do mesh wire, yeah, just to make maybe a cuckoo net or something, just to make sure that even wild birds cannot access your chicken, yeah, just to keep off these diseases, the diseases that the wild birds could be carrying. You want to again orientate it into east-west orientation to make sure that the sun is passing overhead, just to avoid the excessive sunlight that will be coming into the chicken houses, and thereby causing heat stress. Yeah. The ventilation, again, you make sure that it is sufficient air flowing through to avoid cases of even ammonia, because ammonia, so much ammonia in the chicken house can really cause them to have respiratory infections, which could really at some point kill your chicken. Yeah. So those are things you'd consider in a house. When it comes to feeding, then you would always go for a reputable supplier. And when I talk about reputable supplier, then you're looking at someone whose quality is good, because you're investing money into these feeds. And therefore, you should not just buy some bogus feeds from people who are not even known. But there are some reputable suppliers of feeds and some feed mirrors where you can be able to source this, as well as you can be able even to source some raw materials. That is the maize germ, the maize bran, the wheat bran, some cotton seed cake, sunflower seed cake, some omena, even mineral salt and vitamin premixes, and then you can just mix in rations as guided by a vet. There are usually formulas on how you can mix the different variety for the different ages of birds, and then you're able to make your own. Because then you are talking about chick mash, we're talking about the grower's mash, you're talking about the rear's mash, or even the crumbs and the pellets, yeah? But the difference between the mash, crabs, and pellets should just be about the texture, but not about the nutritional composition. They should be equal or same in nutritional composition, but just the texture, how it feels, yeah? For the chicks, then you go for chick mash, because then they may not be able to consume the others. But over and beyond, you should make sure that you are providing sufficient amounts to this chicken to make sure that then they are growing, as then we shall be able to illustrate in a few. But for the equipment, therefore, then you need to have an equipment that is able to make it easy to feed your chicken, and one, improve efficiency, and number two, reduce wastage. Such an equipment with this part here, or this part here, is that once the chicken are feeding and throwing some out, this one prevents the wastages, yeah? And therefore, if you have 1,000 chicken and each of them are throwing 5 grams or so out, you could be losing 5 kgs on a daily basis. But then with this kind of equipment, a modern feeder like this one, then you're able to reduce such wastages. For the drinkers, then you can improvise or just use whatever you can buy on the shops, but just make sure that the water quality that you're giving your animals, I mean your birds, is the same water that you can drink. I always say, whatever water you're feeding your animals, if you can't drink that water, don't give it to your animals. Because then we're thinking about this water is the one that will be used to make part of the egg or part of the meat, yeah? And therefore, if you're feeding chicken dirty water, they start diarrheaing, and you do not want any incidence of disease coming to your farm. And the same water, again, we go into the eggs, and therefore, if you fed them dirty water, you're going to get dirty eggs or unhygienic meat. Therefore, those are things that then you should consider. A business plan becomes a very important first step for any person going into any business, because then you are seeing already you have got the product in mind, but you have not yet started. Through the process, then you have things running, and you're imagining, I need ABCD to have it ready before even I start. And for a poultry business, then a business plan would include things like the housing structures you need and the cost, the cost, of course, of the chicken you desire to buy, be it the kienyeji ones, the broilers or the rears. Feed becomes very important, how much you'd invest on a day-to-day basis from the point they get into your farm up to when you sell them or when you sell the products, and as well as the market, like where do you think or intend to be selling your products? Are you going to do value addition, or you just going to just sell the whole thing to the market? As well as disease management, you also have that, just to know when are you supposed to vaccinate against this disease and the other, when are you supposed to deworm, and what biosecurity measures you put around. And of course, something that majority of the people forget, the importance of investing in a good worker. That is what we call someone to help you in the farm, be it a farm manager or animal husbandry. Because once you get that right, they are able to even solve other things for you, even when you are not in the farm, in case then you are not the one who is running the farm. My advice to someone who wants to venture into poultry farming, just do your research right. Get a good business plan, get the things that you need to do that is the records, the feeds, where you're getting your chicken from, how you go about biosecurity, and most importantly, get some working knowledge, that is theory, on the diseases that even affect poultry, yeah? So that then you are able to know which disease is this. If you see a chicken behaving in a particular way, you're able even to call in the vet and say, this is what I'm facing, so that then you are able to be advised to avoid losses, and of course at the end of the day you're able to make some profit from your business.